The story kicks off with our hero, Light, saying goodbye to his family. His dream is to become a top-notch adventurer so they can all live easy. Light hits the big city, where he's right away treated like dirt just for being human. He heads to the guild to sign up as an adventurer, and they give him the Frank rank since it's his first go. The clerk wonders if he's got a gift, so Light eagerly explains that he does, and it's called unlimited gacha. The girl wants him to describe it because she's never heard of it before, but Light figures it'd be easier to show her. Light pulls out his gacha and after pressing it, it spits out a card. Light is super proud as he explains that he can summon whatever's on the card, but this card was just a worthless and pointless bent fork. Light assures her that this one was a dud, so he tries it again, but it just makes even more worthless junk items like a rotten apple and moldy bread. Light says that it's usually not this bad, but she doesn't care and hands him his Frank rank card. Light is pumped to go do his first job, so the clerk points him to the bulletin board. Unfortunately, Light can't read, but in this world, that's pretty common since humans have a really low literacy rate. Luckily, the clerk helps him out and gives him a list of jobs. They're pretty low level, so they don't pay very well. But Light is a hard worker and he's raring to get started. Light then goes on to do several jobs throughout the day, and he's wiped out. He's also a bit bummed because a whole day's worth of work only earned him enough money for one night at the inn. That isn't too much of a problem for our hero, though, as Light says that he'll be fine if he can just pull something edible from his gacha. Just then, some beastfolk bump into him, and they blame Light for getting their clothes dirty. The thugs steal all his money, but say that they'll use it to pay for the laundry bill. Light desperately tells them to give it back because he won't be able to afford a night at the inn, but the beastfolk don't care. One of them kicks Light while telling him to go sleep in a pigsty and they take off. Not a single person around helps Light, and what's worse is that they even call him human trash. Just then, a girl helps him up, but Light sees that she's an elf and he's startled. He apologizes desperately for touching her, but the girl assures Light that she won't hurt him. Light can't understand why an elf would be nice to a human like him. And the girl even hugs him. Onlookers are disgusted to see an elf even just touch a human, and Light is in utter shock. This elf girl got her knees dirty just to hug him, so he wonders if he's dreaming. The girl assures him that he's not, and the others in her group introduce themselves. They explain that they belong to the Concord of Tribes. It's the name of their party that represents all 9 races created by the goddess. The beastfolk introduces himself as Gao and the elf as Sasha. There's also Diablo the demon kin and Abaro the Anafolk. The dragon guy is a dragon newt and his name is Drago. Then there's now the dwarf, Shaun the dark elf and Santor the centaur. That makes 8 members. So the group reveals that all they need now is a human to complete the 9 races. Light is at a loss for words. So they explain that their goal as a group is a noble one. They want to put an end to racial discrimination and create a fair world for everyone. They explain that they want Light to join them, but Light can't believe what he's hearing. Their leader assures him that they're dead serious about having him, so Light happily joins. A while later, Light finds himself being attacked by giant serpents and he has to be rescued by Drago. Another monster nearly sneaks up on him, but Sasha's there to strike it down. She warns Light to be more careful and reminds him that they're in the largest and toughest dungeon in the world called the Abyss. If anything hits him in here, he won't survive. Light apologizes, so Sasha explains that she's just worried about him, and she checks in to make sure he isn't injured. Light has been adventuring with the group for a while now, so the others tease Sasha for coddling him as always. They then embarrass her by saying that she can't help behaving that way around Light because all her blood rushes to her cheeks when she is near him. Sasha tries to say that she just doesn't want their party's image ruined by losing a member, but the others aren't buying it. Light's feeling pretty worthless right now, but Drago tells him not to sweat it. He says that he loves the tea that Light brews for them, so he's already pulling his weight. Light is relieved to hear this, and the group presses on with their quest. They reach an area with just one way out, and Drago decides that this is the ideal spot. Light figures it's time for a break. So, he cheerfully tells everyone that he'll whip up his famous tea for them all to enjoy. He says that it'll only take a minute, but Drago really shuts him down and declares that Light is banished from the party. Light is speechless, so Drago repeats what he said. Light is still totally baffled, so Gao simply tells him that he's getting booted from the party. Everyone's attitude has completely shifted as they're all nasty and Gao tells him that he's useless to them now. Even Sasha calls him a dumb kid and says that he always irritated her. They even question if his clumsiness is due to missing brain cells or if it's just a human trait. They all show their true colors without holding back and reveal that they despise human garbage like him. Light desperately hopes that they're pulling a prank on him, but they assure him that they didn't venture all the way down into the abyss just for a joke. Light points out that they were also kind to him before, but they reveal that it was all an act since they wanted him to join their party. That doesn't make sense at all. So, Drago explains that this entire scheme was done because of Light's gift. This makes things even more confusing for Light because his unlimited gacha isn't special at all. Drago reveals that their superiors have been watching Light because of his strange gift as they suspected that he could be something called a Maestro. The only reason they invited him into the Concord of Tribes was so they could keep a close eye on him. Light reminds them that his unlimited gacha is a worthless gift because it only lets him summon a bunch of junk. But that doesn't matter to them. They know his gift is trash and his stats are even worse. That is why the superiors have determined that Light can't be the Maestro, which means that he's just dead weight now. The others wish that the higher-ups would have made that decision earlier because they hated having to act like they liked him this entire time. Light doesn't know anything about these higher-ups or the Maestro. But Drago says that he has heard enough. It won't matter anyway as Drago declares that it's time to finish the job. Light has never been more horrified as he realizes that he isn't just getting kicked from the party. Finishing the job means that they're going to end his life. It's time to get started. So Gao attacks him and cuts up his face. Light's entire body trembles as the dark reality of the situation sets in and he runs for his life. It's no use as the group tells him that there's nowhere to run. He wouldn't stand a chance against even just one monster from the abyss. So they suggest that he just let them take his life instead. Sasha doesn't even plan on giving him a chance to escape, and she fires an arrow right through his leg. Gao expresses just how much he loves hunting humans and Shaun agrees by saying that their cries are like music to her ears. Gao continues the beating by kicking Light, but Drago says that's enough. Gao wants to have some more fun, but Sasha reminds him that they need to stick to the plan. Their cover story is going to be that a monster from the abyss eliminated Light, so they can't give him any marks that would contradict that. Gao's ready to do the honors and he tells Light that he was an entertaining punching bag, so he will make the execution quick. Light desperately crawls away and he wonders why things had to end up this way. Light's despair hits rock bottom, so he screams that he wants to live, and he just happens to trigger a teleportation trap. Drago urgently tells Gao not to let Light get away, but it's too late. Moments later, Light finds himself in a different section of the dungeon. He doesn't feel any relief from this, though, as it doesn't change much. His body is badly hurt, and he's certain his life will end the second one of the abyss monsters spots him. He can only think about his family, and he wonders what went wrong. The adventurers were so nice to him, and he thought they were getting closer after spending all that time together. Of course, the truth is that they betrayed him in the worst possible way. Their friendship was all fake, and they actually enjoyed tormenting him. They were all eager to watch him get wiped out, and they were ready to do it with smiles on their faces. Light's sadness quickly turns to fury as he now hates every single member of that party, and he swears to take all their lives. This rage fuels him, and his hunger for payback won't let his life end here. He vows to make them suffer and he promises to tear their guts out. Things take an even darker turn, however, as a monster shows up, and Light is shocked to see that it's level 1000. That should be impossible. And it's the kind of beast only heard of in old legends. This makes Light realize the terrifying truth that he was teleported to the deepest level of the abyss. There's no hope as the creature closes in on him, but Light refuses to die before getting his revenge. All Light has to even attempt fighting back is his unlimited gacha, so he activates it. Light uses his unlimited gacha over and over, pulling card after card. Most are still junk, like a rusty knife and a rotten apple. But Light refuses to quit. He must destroy those who betrayed him at any cost and get back to the family he loves. Luckily, Light's persistence pays off, and his gacha glows with unbelievable power like never before. The beast lunges for an attack, but it's too late as Light's Gacha has produced a new card. A voice declares that it won't let anything harm its master, and a girl materializes, totally obliterating the level 1000 beast. This mighty girl cleans up the wreckage she created and surprisingly bows to Light. She heals him and right away apologizes for it. She says that she couldn't stand seeing his handsome face and flawless pearly skin marred by such awful wounds. Light is floored to hear her talk like this about him and even more stunned to realize that she healed every injury. The girl asks him to use his gorgeous voice to tell her his name. So Light introduces himself. The girl calls him Master Light and declares that she will live to serve him. It's the maid's code of honor, and she pledges her total loyalty to him. Light wants to know who she is after that declaration. So, she introduces herself as May. She is known as the ever-seeking maid, and she's level 9999. What's most shocking, though, is that she's a super ultra rare card pulled from Light's unlimited gacha. This girl just keeps gushing about her devotion as she says that she will stay bound to Light even after death. Light needs more details, though, so he tries to explain that his unlimited gacha is pretty much useless and there's no way someone as amazing as her could come from it. May explains that she has an appraisal skill she can use to examine Light's unlimited gacha, but she's a humble servant and will only activate it with permission. Light gives her the go-ahead, and May is blown away by what she sees. She explains that Light's powers are buried under a thick veil of something called concealment, and it's impossible for anyone below her level to even glimpse the details. May then reveals that Light's unlimited gacha is anything but worthless. It can be rolled infinitely, and the odds and rarities of the cards it spits out shift based on the ambient mana density. The rarities, from the highest down, are extra super ultra rare, triple S rare, double S rare, rare, normal, and error. Light is a little puzzled about the mana thing, so she clarifies that mana flows everywhere in the world. But its density is weakest up on the surface, meaning the odds of pulling a super ultra rare card like May are almost zero. Down here in the dungeon, though, it's a whole different ballgame. They're in the deepest depths right now, and mana is thick all around. This gives Light way better chances of landing a rare card while he's here. May has no idea what led up to this, so she praises Light's courage for journeying to the bottom of the dungeon just to unlock the true power of his unlimited gacha. Light isn't one to lie, though, so he admits that he could never tackle the abyss alone. He explains that he was betrayed, and his former party slashed him and shot arrows into him. Light breaks down crying as the emotions from the betrayal overwhelm him, but his anger surges back too. He wants to make them all suffer and swears not to stop until justice is served. Just then, May hugs him and apologizes for all the pain he's endured. She tells him not to fret though, because with her strength at his command, dishing out holy payback on his enemies will be easy. May then begs Light to give her the order to track down the lying traitors and bring their heads back on spikes for him. Light hesitates for some reason, so he pulls away. May figures it's because Light is too compassionate, so she insists that his foes don't deserve pity. Light says that's not the issue. He trusted those people and got played. Then he nearly died after being beaten senseless and dumped at the bottom of the abyss. The real root of it all is his own weakness. So Light has decided he needs to level up. Light knows it might be impossible for a human like him, but he wants revenge by his own hand. Light wonders if May thinks he's crazy, but she says she would never think that of him. Instead, she proclaims that his desire is her desire, and if he craves personal vengeance, then it's her duty to aid him. May says she believes in his potential more than anything. So, Light thanks his faithful servant. With that decided, Light fires up his unlimited gacha again deep in the abyss, vowing to master his power so he can build a kingdom to clear his road to revenge. Fast forward 3 years, and we see that Light has forged a whole empire in the deepest reaches of the abyss. He tells his legion of maids that they all did a great job today, and they all thank Master Light. Every single one of the girls is head over heels for him, and they wonder if they burned through all their good fortune in life just to be close to him. One girl even takes it further by wishing she could get a good whiff of his feet. They're spiraling way out of hand for May's taste, so she asks Light's permission to quiet them down. He tells her it's not that big a deal because they just adore him so much, and he lets them carry on. We then get a glimpse of just how massive Light's empire is, as it includes plenty of shops and loads of folks going about their everyday routines. Everyone greets Master Light since they all adore him and offer up their finest dishes. Some of them are short on supplies, but Light is a kind-hearted ruler and he vows to notify the administration. May's already on it too, since she wants to handle any problems right away so nobody gets the wrong impression about how the empire's run. Light notes that the population here's exploded over the last 3 years, so he might need to overhaul the whole setup. Light's next worry is the location of his other elite fighters. They're all from level 9999 super ultra rare cards that he pulled, and May explains that they're all handling assignments for him. The one named Ayuki has been scouting the upper edges of the abyss and drawing up maps. The woods around the abyss are teeming with monsters, but Light's confident it'll be a breeze for a genius tamer like Ayuki. The next fighter is Ellie, who's been busting her hump to invent new spells that fit Light's big vision. Light's juggling a ton of stuff at once, so he just hopes Ellie doesn't get buried trying to stay on top of his scheme. Another fighter's named Nazuna, and she's out patrolling the castle grounds like always. She's a whiz at up-close fighting, so she makes the ideal sentry. May chimes in that Nazuna might not be the sharpest tool in the shed, but she's totally a riot to hang with. Back in the castle, May's irritated to spot that a certain somebody was hanging around for Light. It's the level 7777 warrior named Jack, and May has to nudge him to show Master Light more respect. Light's cool with it, though, since he views Jack like an older brother. The two dudes head out back for some sparring, and Light says the gloves are off this time. Neither one's pulling punches, and Light kicks things off with a swift jab straight to Jack's midsection. Jack's impressed since he got shoved back, but he notes that folks don't dub him the iron-blooded barricade for no reason. Light's strike would have finished off anybody else, but Jack's a beast. The two keep at it, and we see Nazuna diligently circling the castle. Nazuna tells the maid she's executing a direct order from Master Light and it's a major duty. All the maids butter her up by saying they're thrilled to have a protector like her, and Nazuna tries her hardest to play it modest since she's just doing her gig. Nazuna's unsure about her next patrol route. So, the maids spill that they've got a favor to ask. They want her to inspect a restricted zone since it's off-limits to them. This zone turns out to be Light's bedroom, so May can only puzzle over why Nazuna's rapping on his door. Nazuna says she wants to sweep the interior, but May points out that Light's quarters are already locked down tight. Nazuna throws her for a loop by noting that Light's off training and quizzing what she's doing in there. May says it's a maid's job to keep hustling non-stop, but Nazuna brushes it off and barges right in. Nazuna's sharp-eyed, as it seems like somebody was just tumbling all over Light's bed. That's not even the half of it, looks like someone was flailing their legs while nosing the pillows. May's sharp on her feet, though, and claims it's merely her special bed fluffing technique. She calls it a secret of the trade so Nazuna can't blab, and Nazuna totally buys it. She figures it's an awesome talent May's got and tells her she totally earns her rep as Light's inaugural summon. The other maids also dispatch Nazuna with a note, and it lets May know they're fed up with her hogging Light's space. They insist she let everybody pitch in on the cleaning and they've kicked off a petition to boot her as head maid. They proclaim her iron-fisted reign's about to crumble and tell her to eat dirt. Nazuna asks if there's any way she can pitch in, but May says it's on her to square things with the fairy maids face to face. She thanks Nazuna for her efforts, and Nazuna's over the moon when May slips her a gratuity. Nazuna dashes off to blow her cash at a store that just got a fresh haul of tasty treats. Nazuna won't settle for second-rate grub, though her gut's really jonesing for milk and pancake sandwiches. Nazuna scarfs the goodies down and spots Ayuki in the castle. Ayuki was meant to be mapping the woods around the abyss, so Nazuna's curious what she's up to. Ayuki chats and meows, but Nazuna can't make heads or tails of it the way Light can. The brilliant Nazuna takes a shot at figuring out what she's saying, but it falls flat. She wonders if Ayuki needs help chopping down trees in the woods to make scouting simpler, but that doesn't hit the mark. Nazuna guesses that Ayuki ran into a tough monster she couldn't take down, but that's not it either. Nazuna admits that Ayuki was summoned before her, but she points out that she looks like the bigger and tougher one. Because of that, she tells Ayuki not to hold back from leaning on her if she ever needs to. Ayuki gets frustrated, so she switches to regular speech and reveals that she wrapped up the mission without hitting any dangers. She finished the section of the map that May asked for, and she just swung by to hand it over. Back inside, Nizuna's thrilled to see that her patrol went smoothly, but she's bummed after not spotting Light all day. After a fast glance to confirm she's by herself, Nizuna jumps onto Light's throne. She thinks about how he always looks so awesome parked on it, and she wishes he was here right now. Just then, Nizuna's horrified when she snaps off a chunk of Master Light's throne. She hastily glues the wing back onto the angel and bolts for it. Back outside the castle, the two guys are still duking it out, but they decide to wrap it up for the day. As they catch their breath, Jack notes that Light has pretty much nailed how to turn his body into a weapon. Light's super modest, though, and gives Jack all the credit for showing him the ropes. Light has gotten ridiculously strong from their workouts. So, Jack says that only a handful can even hang with him down here in the abyss. The abyss houses the mightiest creatures on the planet. So that means even fewer folks could stand toe-to-toe with him up top. Still, Jack drops all this just to remind Light that there are still powerhouses out there who outmatch him. Light takes the heads-up seriously since the surface world's packed with wildcards, and he swears never to drop his defenses. Light's dead set on surviving no matter what because he has to carry out his revenge to the bitter end. Nearby, May confronts the other maids, but they play dumb like they have no clue why she called them together. May rattles off the message they sent her word for word, including the get wrecked bit. So, the maids all say sorry. They can't even figure out how to justify it, so they scramble an alibi. They claim they know how swamped May is non-stop, and they just wanted to ease her burden. They've got other alibis too, but that doesn't cover why they told May to get wrecked at the close of their note. There's no solid fib for that. And to top it off, they had Nizuna drop the note instead of facing her head-on. The girls' once tight-knit crew starts crumbling as they turn on each other, but May's done talking. She shoots down their bid to clean Light's room and instead commands them to scrub the corridor leading to the throne room. To crank up the heat, she insists they do it all by hand. The corridor's ridiculously lengthy, so the girls figure it'll be undoable, but May guarantees they'll knock it out. May's about to head topside on a gig for Light. So, she expects the girls to hustle hard while she's away. Elsewhere, Nizuna eyes a slick-looking weapon and wishes she could snag it, and Ellie's shocked to catch her here. She figures Nizuna's hunting for sweets, but Nizuna's just geeking out over the build on some fighting gloves. Nizuna figured Ellie would be out handling builds or running checks like usual, but Ellie's actually chilling for once. Things are humming along so great that she carved out time to unwind. Ellie thinks Nizuna's a tad denser than normal, but Nizuna fires back that she's not by rattling off her multiplication tables. Too bad she's off right out of the gate, so Ellie ribs her, and they start bickering. Ellie highlights that Light slotted her into the core of his revenge blueprint, unlike Nizuna and her pea-sized brain. Nizuna snaps that her rounds are crucial, but Ellie calls it peanuts next to her own work. Ellie spills that she just shared tea with Light to hash out the scheme's headway, and she needles Nizuna by saying next time she'll snag a private spot for them. Nizuna's dying to sip tea with Light too, but Ellie can't fathom that was the jealousy hook for Nizuna. Nizuna's clueless on the rest, so Ellie hints at the real jealousy fuel. Nizuna totally whiffs it and just pegs it as Ellie fretting over going magicless for self-defense one day. So, she offers backup anytime Ellie wants it. Ellie gives in and says she will, leaving Nizuna to strut off content. She dives back into rounds, and Ellie can only muse that Nizuna's in a league of her own. Back in the castle, the four gals gripe about landing in hot water when they had a legit beef with their superior. She is the superior, though, so they can't really push back since May's basically invincible. They all pine that they could be tidying Light's room right now where they'd bury their faces in his linens. The gal who always amps it up takes it wilder by saying she wants to tongue all his dirty silverware. The others dub her a weirdo at first, but in the end they all cop to doing the same. The girls can't shake pondering how May was the pioneer summon. It dragged a full 3 more months before Ayuki popped as the runner-up. So, the girls can only speculate what they got up to while they were solo. Their thoughts spiral into wild territory as they ponder how innocent and clueless life can seem. Back then, they were just a young boy and girl stuck alone in a lethal dungeon, and they can't fathom how fortunate May was. They're swamped with envy and wish they could channel their fury into a hex to slap on May. They try it out, but soon freak when May materializes. They all figured she was off on assignment, but she hasn't departed yet. May says she overheard them chanting "die non-stop," and she wants answers. They all flip their script to pretend they've always been devoted to her, but May's not swallowing it. The girls finally fess up that jealousy got the best of them, especially since May got to hog so much solo time with Light. May notes she's got no duty to spill details, but she'll do it just to play nice. She discloses that in the 3 months before Ayuki showed up, Light devoted every second to poring over stacks of books and drilling all sorts of fighting styles. He was obsessed with leveling up, and there was zero room for any of the dirty scenarios the maids have been dreaming up. May had been feeling like she was too tough on the girls and that her commands were over the top. She was mulling over cutting them slack, but now she sees she was mistaken. The girls clearly haven't learned a thing, so May tacks on cleaning the throne room too. That'll drag on eternally, but May reminds them they should have the bandwidth since they wasted so much cursing her. May turns dead serious as she demands they confirm her order, and the girls do. They dive in, but figure they'll never wrap it up anytime soon. Things then nosedive as the wing Nazuna snapped earlier tumbles off. In Nazuna's quarters, she's relieved to notch another solid day of keeping the peace in her pocket. Of course, she's still down about missing Light all day, and she pines for him to issue the command she craves most. She wants him to dispatch her topside to crush everyone who stabbed him in the back. Nazuna chills out as she hopes to catch Light tomorrow, and she drifts off. The next morning, Light exits the castle to spot Ellie and Nazuna squabbling like clockwork. Nazuna's overjoyed that her wish from last night panned out since she gets to see Light again. Light can't resist petting Ayuki like a kitty. But the other girls instantly turn green with envy. Suddenly, a beast identical to the one Light first faced in the abyss pops up. Light still shakes with terror at the sight of these hellhounds because of that nightmare day. But now it's a whole new game. Light has his terrifying fighters in his corner, and they're geared for combat in a heartbeat. Nazuna's airhead vibe vanishes as she's livid that a simple practice pup has the guts to mess with Light on her watch. Ellie's equally pissed as she plots to school this creature. Ayuki's repulsed too since the hellhound's mere existence is rattling Light, so she swears to wipe out their whole kind. Their power shines bright as they warn the beast to brace for the full force of their level 9999 might. Light coolly halts them, though, and says he's fine now. The girls snap to his command and back off. Light shockingly says sorry to the monster for startling it, and he muses how the girls would for sure eradicate every hellhound on the planet if he greenlit it. Right then, Light spills what he came to discuss. He just heard from May that her op was a win, and it's go time to kick off their scheme. Their targets bit the hook, and they're set for phase 2. The girls aren't thrilled May got the jump on them, but they're pumped to push the plan ahead. Light takes charge and announces it's time to dish out his first plate of revenge, 3 years in the oven. In the City of Wolves, we spot one of Light's marks. It's Gao. And he struts through town while folks cheer him like a champ, totally blind to the payback barreling his way. The locals adore Gao big time, and one even begs him to date his sister. They swoon over him non-stop, and Gao laps it up without a shred of modesty. He basks in the spotlight and orders the villagers to clear a path for a superstar. A human nearby rummages through garbage, and Gao can't stand the view. He dubs the guy gutter scum while hurling him to the pavement and hawking a loogie in his face. Gao rags on humans just like the rest, and he warns the guy to vanish from his sight forever. At a tavern, Gao's groupies even rave about his booze-sipping style. To reward their loyalty, Gao lets them order any grub and drinks they crave. He says money's no object since he just raked in a fat stack. Gao's crew digs into a banquet, and they hail him as a role model for lowlifes like them. Gao's rags to riches tale blows their minds. He clawed from slum orphan to future pack alpha. It's not official yet, but Gao's basically the top dog of the wolf clan, and the other beastfolk can't believe they're rubbing elbows with him. They dream of mirroring his rise. But Gao warns it's no cakewalk. To even sniff his level, they'll need slick tricks with the gut instincts beastfolk are born packing. The guys all swear Gao's in a league of his own, and even dragon newts kneel to his prowess. Gao then drops some wisdom, saying his win's so big to his snout and sniffing skills. It's key to sniff out goldmine gigs from duds by their aroma. He struck it rich by cherry-picking only the prime ones. Gao's lackeys have shadowed him like hawks. So they know every quest he's tackled and grill him if his scent story checks out for that gig 3 years back. Gao recalls it as the Concord of Tribes op, but the fanboys note Gao's lips are sealed on details. All they know is it was a hush-hush mission only Gao could nail. Gao apologizes to his boys, confirming the Federation slaps a gag order on that job. One dude says sorry for prying, but Gao tells them all to kick back and party. Deep down, Gao can't shake how the Concord gig was the softest score ever. All he did was waste one sorry human brat flagged as a potential maestro. That cakewalk gig catapulted him to wealth and fame. It's always nagged him that Light's body never turned up after the teleport. But Gao was dead sure no way Light lasted in the abyss. One thing still bugs him, though, the Maestros. He doesn't grasp who or what they are. But every nation on the globe is scrambling to hunt them. Mulling it over gives Gao the chills. So he vows to bury it deep, not wanting to wreck his sweet setup by stirring the pot. Too bad for him, his clocks run out as a mysterious chick struts across the bar. It's May, and she says sorry for cutting into Gao's chat. This all went down 1 month ago, and now we see Gao and his crew guiding May through the abyss. May fakes exhaustion after a solid month trekking the abyss, and Gao muses it'll just be a bit longer before he drops the mask. Flashing back to May hitting the bar, she played dumb about Light's fate. She was just hunting Gao, rumored ex-Concord member. Gao's goons raged at a lowly human addressing their boss, but Gao wanted her spiel. May introduced herself to Gao and said she lives to serve her Master Light as his most devoted maid. Gao was stunned to hear her mention Master Light, and May spilled that she'd been hunting for Light's whereabouts. Gao worried she might know something about what went down, but he dismissed it since nobody outside the Concord of Tribes had a clue. May then fibbed and claimed Light was a big shot from noble blood. Gao couldn't wrap his head around that since Light just seemed like some scrawny punk, and he accused May of pulling a fast one on them. May stuck to her story, though, and just told Gao she couldn't spill specifics on Light's background. Gao started second-guessing himself but figured the top brass behind the job would have uncovered every scrap of dirt on Light. They never breathed a word about royalty, and neither did Light. There was a slim shot, though, that May was on the level, and if she was, Gao reckoned it could be a goldmine chance to rake in serious cash. Gao admitted he was struggling to buy it. So May pressed on. She laid out how she'd been roaming the globe looking for Light and only lately caught wind of him linking up with the Concord of Tribes. Sadly, that news came bundled with word he'd bought it in the abyss. Gao still didn't get what any of this had to do with him. So May finally dropped that she needed Gao to guide her. May managed to well up as she begged to scout the spot where Light was last spotted alive for herself. Gao, of course, warned her the abyss was loaded with hazards, but May was set to pay him for the escort. May then flashed a chest crammed with gold bars that floored all of Gao's crew. It was solid gold, so Gao actually started buying that Light hailed from some fancy lineage. Still, her shelling out this much just for a haul-through was odd, and Gao couldn't ditch the vibe it might be a setup. Gao's cockiness won out, though, as he sized up that even if it was a sting, one frail human pushover wouldn't faze him much. If she pulled any stunt, Gao was dead certain he could squash her quick. On that note, Gao sealed the pact with May. Gao was always a performer, though, and he didn't leave it at that. He faked indifference to the payout and claimed his motives ran deeper. Gao bullshitted through his grin that Light was one of his closest buds, like a brother even. Gao played it off like the gold was chump change and said he just owed it to Light to back May. He told May to count her blessings since he was the next Wolfpack chief and he'd round up his sharpest crew just for her. He boasted it'd be no walk in the park, but he and his elite squad would shepherd her through the peril-packed dungeon dubbed the Abyss. Back in the now, Gao schemes how he'll guarantee May hits her mark without a nick. But once they're there, this creep plans to unleash hell on her right over Light's tomb. The malice surges in his blood as he dwells on it, and he can hardly wait to reach the site. A bit later, they roll up to the final spot Light was spotted. Gao spins a yarn that a swarm of beasts ambushed them and shredded Light something fierce. Then he got snagged in a warp trap and poof, gone for good. May dials up the dramatics to nail her grief and starts sobbing. Gao's not finished bullshitting, either, as he claims the raid caught them off guard and the crew couldn't scramble fast enough to bail Light out. He says sorry to the morning May but cues his boys to prep. They block the soul exit, and Gao pauses to smirk at how dumb humans are. Gao lays it on thicker, saying that even as the hard as he is, he blew it big time on protecting Light. Gao claims he feels her ache deep, but May's vibe flips on a dime. She's quit the waterworks cold and dead seriously, says her heart aches for Light. Not over his fake death, but for dragging him to this dumpy, filthy dungeon just to get stabbed in the back by lowlife trash. Her sharp tone heats up with fury per syllable as she ticks off how Light got pummeled near to death. Confusion creeps over Gao's mug as May laments she couldn't pop up at Light's side a tad sooner. She vows on every decent thing in this realm that if she had, Light would have skipped the agony of boots and bolts. The guilt eats her alive, and she itches to square it. The ice in her payback-laced words hits Gao like a gut punch, so his gut reactions shove him rearward. Gao clocks that May's got the full rundown on that day's mess, but that's flat out impossible. The only ones in the know are the Concord crew and a tight circle of top execs from every country. Gao barks who she really is and who she's repping since he smells a rival tribe plant tailing him. May's pissed he mistakes her fire for cheap espionage and snaps her loyalties locked to Master Light alone. Gao brands her a filthy deceiver for the con, but that's a fatal blunder. May looms with a venom so thick Gao and his whole posse feel it. And she vows they'll spot the real rot once Gao's innards paint the deck. Her killer glare packs a crush that swamps the chamber. And Gao starts quaking. It drains every ounce Gao's got to stay upright, and he can't fathom why she's scaring him shitless. He pegged May as a soft human they could toy with then trash. It defies logic why she's pinning him down and icing his spine. May's lock intensifies as her bottomless grudge floods free, and Gao starts grasping he won't walk from this. He writes off any shot at survival, but he's floored when a voice pipes up, telling May to cool it. May snaps to the command, bottling her rage, and Gao's left way more baffled. They're buried in the abyss. So he gripes there's no shot some puny human squirt trekked here solo. Gao's convinced this kid's packing backup. So he warns his crew to skin 4M. Just then, Gao finally gets how off base he's been this whole ride. His brain fights the proof staring back since it's nuts. But he can't dodge the nightmare truth as Light steps into view. Gao never once figured Light pulled through, and Light coolly hails his ex-teammate. With a low-key grin, Light breezily says he's here to settle scores. With 3 years of compound, Gao pulls himself together and snickers after mulling it over. Light was just a wimpy level 15 human, and it's a joke picturing a weakling like him gunning for payback against a level 150 powerhouse like Gao. The notion alone cracks Gao up, and he's never been more grateful humans are such idiots. Gao continues to laugh away, but Light isn't amused in the slightest. Gao admits to not knowing how Light survived, but declares that Light made a huge mistake by showing his face to him. This is because Gao is certain that when he really ends Light's life this time and brings his body back, he's guaranteed to become the king of the beastfolk. Light is extremely disappointed by Gao's ignorance as he wonders why Gao isn't curious to hear about how he survived or even what his connection is to May. The normal reaction would be to demand some answers. So, Gao admits that he can't really tell how strong May is. Gao's confidence is restored, however, as he says that it doesn't matter because two humans can never pose any kind of a threat to a pack of beast folk like him and his men. Gao himself is level 150 and each of his men are over level 130. Gao declares that Light and May don't stand a chance because they're ordinary humans and Light's only power is a worthless gift that can only summon trash. After some thought, Gao has concluded that Light just got lucky 3 years ago and only survived because he was rescued by May. Light doesn't deny that last fact is he's very appreciative of May helping him. But there's more to the story. Garo isn't interested in listening though, so tells Light to prepare for his real demise and he sends his men to attack him. They rush in to tear Light Toshards, but May removes their heads before they can even get near him. The guys have never seen anyone move so fast, and May sternly announces that anyone who dares threaten Light will pay by losing their heads. May immediately softens up when Light praises her for a job well done, and he instructs her to go watch the exit. M is as loyal as ever as she swears upon the Maids code that she won't let anyone escape and she rushes off. Gao's men begin to panic as they couldn't even see her attack. But Guru assures them that she just used some kind of cheap trick. It had to have been a sneak attack in his eyes because there's no way that an inferior being like a human could beat them. Light is disappointed to hear that Go still hasn't changed a tiny bit even after all these years, as he still thinks that humans are inferior. Light wonders if he has considered that the beastfolk could be the inferior ones, but Garl's just insulted. Humans are just feeble losers with tiny pools of mana. So, Garl tells Light to feast his eyes on what real power looks like, and he displays his level. Light, of course, is not impressed, as he reminds everyone that levels typically achieved by each race differ greatly. And the discrimination that came from it is what gave rise to widespread disdain for humans. Go is happy that the world is this way, and he declares that beastfolk are just more capable than humans, which is why they're also higher up on the food chain. Light is quick to point out that 2 of Go's more capable men are now headless because of a human. But Awakens is may have using some kind of magic item to do it. Go's tired of seeing Light be so confident, and he becomes infuriated by the way Light looks at him. Go and all his men attack Light at the same time, but Light lands an attack in every single one of them before they can touch him. That one single attack from Light leaves Garo gasping for air, and Light wonders if the wolf is already done. His casual attitude only infuriates Go more, and Go calls Light human trash. He still thinks that Light is a loser, and he refuses to be looked down upon by someone weaker than him. Go angrily creates some distance between them and declares that he's going to wipe Light's confident look off his face while making him soil his pants. To do this, Garo pulls a small glowing orb from his pocket and uses it to summon a magic beast funner. The summoning causes the air to shift in the room, and Light is impressed when Go's Fenrir finally appears. Guru confidently announces that this beast is his ace in the hole as it's level 500. Gao's men are amazed to see that their leader had such a crazy secret weapon, and they're relieved as they will now win the battle. Gao tells his men to stand back and watch, and he warns Light that he's about to feel the full force of his insanely high beast. Unfortunately for him, Light only lets out a sigh as he's disappointed to see that Go's secret weapon is pitifully weak. Level 500 is nothing, and Go's confidence in it is embarrassing to him. Go has a good laugh as he assumes that Light just lost his mind out of fear. He gives our hero a chance to beg for his life just like he did 3 years ago, and instructs him to drop down on his knees while begging for Lord Gao to spare him. Light has a different idea, however, as he wants to toy with Gao so can really savor his revenge. Light tells Gao to attack him any way he wants, and he promises not to move a single inch from where he's standing. Gao's anger and frustration continue to grow as he can't seem to break Light's confidence. He refuses to believe that Light can back up his talk. So, he announces that he will have his Wiener wipe Light out of existence. He orders his beast to use its blazing howl attack. So, it fires a massive beam at your hero. The attack causes major damage to the surrounding area. And Guru explains that the blazing howl attack is the entire monopool of a level 500 monster focused in one blast. He says that it's enough to turn a human into a pile of ashes. So, he's absolutely horrified when he sees that Light is still standing without a scratch anywhere. Light stood in the exact same spot just like he said he would. So, Garl can't comprehend what just happened. Light keeps his casual attitude as he mocks Garl for coming up with such a fancy name for an attack that did nothing but kick up a bunch of dust. Light says that he should feel silly, and Guru's mouth just widens even more as what he just saw should have been impossible. Go's men can't understand how he survived the attack either, and they wonder if Guru has any answers. Gao doesn't, because the only answer is that Light is somehow powerful enough to completely smother an attack from a level 500 monster. Light can tell that Go has nothing else to offer in this fight. So, he decides that it's his turn now. He starts by saying that Gashauldn't call his little pet a Fenrir because it gives people the wrong idea. Fenrir are legendary mythical creatures with otherworldly powers. So, Light declares that he will show him what a real one looks like. Light then shocks every single one of these guys as he pulls out a level 9000 ultra rare card. He releases the primal god Wolffunner, and Go stands frozen by shock as the beast is summoned. Galro's level 500 beast was one of the highest level monsters he had ever seen. So Light's level 9000 Fenrir blows his mind. Light orders his beast to eliminate Gao's, so it sends out its lightest attack. It blows a small gust of air out of its mouth, and this completely freezes Gao's monster. The attack also shatters it into pieces, so Go and his men tremble as the dark reality of their situation has finally set in. The wrath of Light's revenge is closing in on them. And Garo can't believe that Light has a monster strong enough to wipe out his Fenrir in the blink of an eye. Light says that he's correct, but also assures the terrified Garo that he could have defeated the level 500 beast himself if he wanted to. It's now Light's turn to tell Guru to feast his eyes as Light finally reveals his own level. He's level 9999, and Garo's body now trembles uncontrollably as the unshakable confidence he once had turns to pure terror. Go was sure that humans maxed out at level 100, so his mind desperately searches for answers, and Hudson only conclude that Light is some kind of imposter. This makes sense to him because Light looks exactly the same as he did 3 years ago. He has the same face and body, but any normal human would have grown by now. As Garo's mind spirals into chaos, Light explains that he wears the bracelet of youth that stops him from aging. Light is so driven by his revenge that he forces his body to stay exactly the same so it can remind him of all the pain, anger, and despair that he felt that day. He will never forget it, and he also wants it to stay fresh in his mind at all times. Go comes to terms with the fact that this is the real Light, but it never really mattered in the first place. Go now knows that it was he that never stood a chance because Light is an absolute monstrosity. Go has never faced his own mortality before, but realizing that his life is about to end is absolutely terrifying. There is nothing left for him to turn to now. So Go completely breaks down and begs for forgiveness. He cries out that he had no choice but to follow orders from the Federation and says that he never actually meant to hurt Light. Gao's cowardly nature finally reveals itself to everyone as he says that even today wasn't his fault because he was just going along with the scheme that his men came up with. Of course, his men point out that it was all his idea. So, Go just apologizes to Light for breaking his trust. He desperately searches for something to save his pitiful life. So, he reminds Light of all the good times they had. Go sees that they were once friends and he pleads for Light to spare him. The groveling Garo feels a bit of hope as Lee explains that there's actually some information that he wants from him. Light wants to know everything that Gach knows about the Maestros, but unfortunately, Garo doesn't know much. The group was only instructed to Gozarch for one, but Light wants to know why the government is desperate to find them. Of course, Go has no idea. So Light demands to know why the Concord of Tribes still try to end his life even after finding out that he wasn't a Maestro. Go doesn't know that either, and he just admits to not knowing a single thing. Light wonders if any Ophi's men know anything, and they all say that they do. Unfortunately for them, May has an ability that can tell when people are lying, so she slices them all to pieces. She declares that anyone that attempts to deceive her master will be sent to the afterlife. So, she tells Go to choose his words wisely. Gao squeals from the terror of seeing all his men wiped out in an instant, and Light reveals that he has only one more question. Light has shown Go what he and May are capable of. So, he wants Guru's opinion. If they were to wage war against the entire world, does Go think that they could win? Go has always been proud of his perception and instincts. So, Light wonders what they're telling him about this war wants to start. Light reminds him that May has the eye Oftrith that can see through everything. So he warns Garo not to lie. Go fears that his answer will cost him his life, but his life is in danger regardless. So he soils himself. With no ego left to fuel his arrogance, Go chooses his words much more carefully. He says that considering the great amount of power the Light possesses, he is sure that the battle would go in Light's favor right from the start. However, no matter how high Light's level is, he's still just one person. The various nations of the world have spent many years stockpiling weapons, armor, and special items. Their armies are vast and their combined power is immeasurable. Cao says that once they all rally against Light, even he will have a hard time winning. Light is surprisingly satisfied with this answer, as that was exactly what he assumed anyway. There's only so much a single person can do on the battlefield, so it only makes sense. Light reveals that he actually has one more question, but it can wait until after they teleport. Light then uses a teleport card to take them back to his castle. Go has no clue where they are, but he's more shocked than he has ever been in his entire life when he sees what Light has in store. Light has brought him to his throne room where a massive army stretches endlessly before him, awaiting Light's command. Light takes one single step, and the entire army kneels before their master. Garo is shocked by the sheer magnitude of Light's supremacy as the weight of Light's true power finally crushes whatever remained of his sanity. Light takes a seat and he tells everyone to stand so they can display their stats. His seemingly endless army of unique warriors obey his order without a second thought, and a sea of numbers fill the room. Each of Light's warriors stand out with a unique presence, their levels ranging in the high thousands. A collection of beings so distinct in appearance that each one of them look more like legends than soldiers. Even the weakest among them stand above level 10,000, while some of the strongest are full-fledged mythical beasts, reaching levels as high as 9,000. At the very top are Light's elite warriors that all max out at level 9,999. Light explains to Guru that these are the forces that he has massed over the last 3 years. In that moment, Garo's expression embodies pure despair, the realization that he's standing before a power far beyond anything his mind could ever comprehend. Light was prepared to toast him again about his chances of winning a war against the entire world. But Guru's face has already told him what he wanted to know. Light congratulates Guru, for he has earned the reward of languishing in pain and despair, far worse than anything he could imagine. Gao's fear has drained all the life out of his entire body. Ash realizes that he and the others are to blame for giving birth to the godforsaken monstrosity that is Light. Light could end the world at the drop of a hat, and everyone that's not on his side is doomed. Go's mind has crumbled to pieces after witnessing what unfathomable power really looks like. And all he can do is call Light the Lord of Destruction. Go can hardly speak at this point as he struggles to force the words out of his mouth. And he just managed to ask Light if he's trying to become a god. Light admits to liking the sound of that, especially since it aligns with his goals. Someone is hiding the truth from him and he doesn't know what their intentions are. If they're doing it for righteous reasons, then Light will take the path to being an altruistic god. However, if they're doing it for nefarious reasons, then Light declares that he will have to go down the path of a satanic monarch. The power that allows him to do all this comes from his one ability. With it, Light can either grant blessings and fortune or draw on everything in despair. The world has a chance to prove which it deserves by simply revealing the truth that it hides. Light's plan for the future has already been set in motion. So, he announces to his army that it's time to begin their march from the abyss to the surface, out of the darkness, and into the light. A while later, Light finally decides to return home to show his family how successful he has become. He's horrified, however, when he arrives to find that his home has been completely destroyed. Terror overruns his entire body as he realizes that his hometown was decimated by an unknown force during his years of being away. 6 months after this, Light is only able to find a tiny bit of relief because the bodies of his family have yet to be found. They might still be alive, and it's a last hope he can cling to. Light's warrior named Gold wants them to find a place to stay. So another warrior named Nemo must remind him to be nicer since Light is grieving. The two begin to argue because Gold wants to stay at a hotel, but the ninja girl would stay with Light anywhere. Their dispute quickly turns into a juvenile argument about who's more loyal to Light and who would endure the worst environment for their master. Light says that they can worry about lodging later because for now they need to get information about the war they're about to start. Their goal now is to learn the military strength of each nation in the world. Light can't be sure, but he believes that the destruction of his hometown has something to do with the accusation of him being a Maestro. Light is then filled with rage as he can only wonder why Maestros are such a big deal that it could lead to so much bloodshed. He declares that if the world turns out to be filled with crooked evil, then he will have no choice but to burn everything to ashes. The power that flows through him when he's at his angriest strikes fear in his allies, and they suggest that he try to temper himself when he's in public. Light plans to get more aggressive moving forward, so he puts a mask on to hide his identity. He tells the others not to call him Light while on the surface because up here, he wants to be called Dark. The new name will keep the Concord Tribes from learning about him. And he decides to register Dark as an adventurer and raise his rank by doing quests. Getting information is the most important thing right now. And having a higher rank means that he will be able to ask questions to higher level people. On their way, they encounter a family that's being robbed. Gold blows their cover by announcing himself, but the bandits prove to be easy for them toad feet. The family gives them a ride to Dragon City and they explain that the dungeons there are perfect for someone looking to level up. The quality of the dungeon there is extremely high and it attracts a lot of adventurers. Light told them that they are newbie adventurers, but after they part ways, the girl wonders if it's normal for newbies to be as strong as them. This is Gold and Nemu's first time on the surface, so they're amazed by all the weapon and armor shops. It's because it's a city for adventures and the dwarf kingdom specializes in blacksmithing. Ida said that the majority of aspiring adventurers here are human, and that is proven true as the guild is filled with humans. They seem to be terrified of other races, which makes it clear that humans are treated poorly here just like everywhere else. A while later, Nemo is furious after her Master Dark is given the rank F. Unfortunately, it's a rule for everyone to start that way, but Nemo refuses to accept that. She says that her Master Dark is the most powerful human being in all of history and declares that his rank should be a C for Super Extra. The humble Light accepts the F rank, however, and he registers successfully. The guy he saved earlier is named Colonel, and he turns out to be the owner of the inn. Light rents out the entire top floor for a month, and he asks that no one step foot inside while they stay there. Colonel refuses to accept payment after Light just saved his life, but Light insists. With that settled, Lou uses some detection cards to make sure that there are no items that might spy on them in their rooms. Nemo has been wondering about something this entire time, so she points out that Light might get injured with this huge goal of his. He could very easily stay at his castle and just order his warriors to carry out his orders. Light becomes furious at the thought of him not carrying out his revenge with his own hands, and Nemo very quickly realizes her mistake. Light's overwhelming thirst for revenge causes the entire building to shake, and Nemo apologizes profusely. Gold admires how Light wants to handle this himself, and Light acknowledges that Nemo was just looking out for his safety. Light apologizes for letting his anger get the best of him, but Nemo shows her remorse by kissing his foot. Many leaders in this world force their followers to do this, but Light hates it. It's too embarrassing in his eyes, but Gold says that he's kind of into it. The next day, Light notices how lively the shops are, which makes it clear that the dungeon must be as good as advertised. The people are amazed by Gold's armor, but they also notice Light's mask, and Light wonders if it makes him stick out too much. There is a huge line to get into the dungeon, but Gold notices that there are no elves. This makes sense, though, because the elves and dwarves are currently feuding over who has claim to the dungeon. Light gets uncomfortable by how close Nemo is to him, but she says that this is her way of protecting him. Just then, they notice three mysterious people in hoods as they cut the line. However, the person at the front carries himself with incredible sharpness despite the giant and obviously heavy weapon that he carries. Some adventurers are too terrified to say anything, but Light isn't, and he reminds the stranger that cutting in line is against the rules. The guy is furious as he can't believe that Light doesn't know him, but Light doesn't care, and stands by what he said. His warriors join in with some insults as Nemo wonders if these guys are too dumb to know how lines work, and this makes the guy really angry. He refuses to be spoken to that way by some disgusting humans, but his servant reminds him to restrain himself so they don't cause a scene. This guy is obviously very strong, as his servant reminds him that using his sword would be going way overboard. They decide to just go to the back of the line so all the adventurers around to Light how amazing that was. The other group apologizes for not saying anything out of fear of starting a fight, and they're grateful for Light being there. They can't help but wonder if Gold's armor is made of real gold, but Nemo hits them with some reality as she says that it's fake. Gold is too malleable to be used in armor, so the adventurers apologize for such a silly question. Gold uses this color as more of a symbol to express his dedication to being a knight. The adventurers can tell that this is their first time at the dungeon because they didn't come fully prepared. The first floors are incredibly large, so many people camp inside for days. But Light's group doesn't have any camping equipment. Light realizes that they have become accustomed to carrying everything in his item box. So, Nemo wonders if they should carry some fake luggage to make them look normal. Soon, it's their turn to enter the dungeon, and Light is amazed by how unique dungeons are. They are very mysterious, and learning their true purpose would require a deep analysis of the dungeon core. It would probably be impossible to learn everything about them, and Light is sure that Ellie wouldn't even be able to do it. Dungeons are filled with mana that gets stronger the deeper down they go, and that power gives birth to a variety of monsters and traps. The possibilities are endless, and dungeons can even be like their own world. This dungeon is incredibly beautiful, and Gold doesn't sense anyone nearby. So, he says that Light can use some of his cards. Light uses some cards that conceal their presence and allows them to fly so they can easily make their way through the dungeon. Light never ceases to amaze Nemo with his abilities because he also had a card called Clairvoyance that shows him the fastest route to the next floor. All of his abilities make things too easy and boring sometimes, but it saves him a bunch of time. Meanwhile, the guy from earlier is still angry about being talked down to, and he unleashes his anger by using his giant sword to take out some orcs. He says that he's the youngest and most elite warrior among the Elven Kingdom's White Knights, and he calls himself a genius. His name is Kaido, and he declares that he's a legendary hero who single-handedly took the life of a Maestro. His servant named Yannick reminds him that their goal is to defeat Thetrals in the lower floors, but this infuriates Kaido. He explains that these orcs insulted him by challenging him, and no one is allowed to do that because he's the literal descendant of a Maestro. He blames his low level for people thinking they can challenge him, but Yannick doesn't think that level 1500 is low. He's well beyond the typical max level for elves, but Kaido's rage and ego don't let him accept this. Kaido declares that he will become stronger so can bring punishment to those that disrespect him. Yannick feels the same way, as they have both been exiled. Yannick was cast out because of his banned research, but he promises to put that research to good use for Kaido. Deep down, Kaido knows that he can't trust Inak, so he plans to dispose of him after he helps them level up. Elsewhere, Light and his group finish up eliminating some giant trolls. They only need to provide the guild proof that they made it down to 3rd floor so he can rank up. So, they collect some gems from the beasts and call it a day. On their way back, they notice that the group from earlier is in battle. These guys work together to take out some goblins, and they're surprised when Light's group appears out of nowhere. Light actually saved them from being attacked by a dangerous snake. And he reminds them that while they did a good job in battle, they can never let their guard down. They all show their appreciation, but our heroes become very serious as they realize that something is coming. Some terrifying wolves appear out of the woods, but they shouldn't be in this area. Monsters this strong should only be deep in the forest. So, the group of kids think they should run. Light explains that the wolves are not the real problem, and the group is stunned when the wolves run right past them. The kids are terrified as the real danger rapidly approaches, and it turns out to be a giant mantis monster. The kids are horrified because this monster was said to have been exterminated 10 years ago. Their leader tells Light that they just need help throwing it off balance so they can run away. But Light has a different idea. He points out that they just want to run away anyway. So Light asks their group off his team could just hunt the beast themselves. Light's warriors don't fear this monster at all, and they simply measure it up. It seems to be around level 500, and they determine that it won't even be a challenge. The kids are sure that fighting this thing will be just like throwing their lives away, but Light assures them that they will be fine. Nemu declares that it's time to squash the bug, but Gold is the first to take action. He launches a barrage of attacks, but he's disappointed when Mantis is able to take it all without even receiving a scratch. Light wants to test it next, so he uses a fire arrow card, but the monster just fires it back at them. The young group is terrified as they fear that their lives will come to an end. So, their leader instructs their mage to back up Light's team. She seems horrified at first, but it turns out that she's actually just in awe of Light. He was able to cast a combat class spell with no incantation, and she can understand why the others aren't freaking out after seeing that. The leader says that there's no time to be impressed because they have to help Light's team, but Gold just laughs at this. He tells the youngsters to just watch and learn because he's going to show them how a knight wields their weapon on the battlefield. Gold is sure that they think just like everyone else does. Typically, a shield is used for defense and a sword is used for offense. Gold, however, says that this is not always the case. He declares that all it takes is a well-timed counter to turn a shield into a mighty weapon, and he uses his shield to shatter the monster's powerful claw. His next lesson is to use your sword when you have the enemy on the ropes. His next attack cuts the monster's leg off, and Gold explains that battles are all about creativity and skill. The kids realize that this guy wasn't just all talk, and Light announces that it's his turn. He uses his fire arrow once more, but this time he alters its path so the mantis can't block it. Light does this with even more arrows, and he rains down fire upon the beast. The mage girl is absolutely losing her mind after seeing this because Light is somehow able to control 30 arrows at one time. The arrows still remain in its body, so Light assembles them to break off the beast's other arm. Light declares that it's time to end this battle, but the Mantis runs for its pitiful life. Light credits it for being smart enough to do so, but it's too late. The monster picked a fight with the wrong people, so Light uses his firewall card to create a massive wall-off fire. The beast has no way to escape, and the mage girl still can't believe her eyes because Light is now casting tactical class spells with no incantation. Her friends have never seen her like this before, but she can't help herself because the stuff Light is doing is crazy. The Mantis flies in the air in the hopes of getting away, but Nemo's right in its tail. She tells the beast to be grateful for being able to keep her master's attention for so long, but she slices the monster into pieces. Gold mocks her for the attack because while it was very powerful, she also made amiss of all the useful parts of the beast. Nu quickly realizes her mistake because now they won't be able to sell any of it. The three of them act very casually in the kid's eyes, but their power is undeniable. They made quick work of a legendary monster, so the kids can only wonder who they are. After a while, one of these kids announces that they hit the jackpot. They were looting the Mantis, so the kid found the magic gem. And Gold tells everyone they're lucky that Nemo didn't slice it into a million pieces. Light is relieved because this magic gem will surely help him rank up at the guild, but a kid just wants to know if there's some kind of famous party. He wonders if they're brank, a rank, or even shrank, and he is shocked when Light reveals that they're all actually Franks. The mage girl makes herself useful by using a water spell and telling the others that they can use it to wash their hands. After cleaning up, Light thanks them for helping him get his hands clean, but the kids are much more grateful for Light's team saving their lives. In return, the young adventurers offer to share a camp for the night, but Light doesn't want to burden them. The leader points out that the sun will be setting soon, and this place gets far more dangerous at night. Besides that, he points out that his little sister is itching to talk with Light about magic. Light takes them upon the offer, so that night they all enjoy a delicious meal. The mage girl is delighted to hear that Light's parents are both mages because it helps explain why Light is so talented. The girl's name is Maya, and Light compliments her and her magic as well. Maya, of course, points out that she can't cast voiceless spells like Light can, so they are not on the same level. She becomes furious when her big brother doesn't know how impressive that is, so she gives him a little lesson. Ma starts by saying that impressive hardly begins to even describe how amazing what Light did is. She then goes on to explain that there are 3 classes of spells in magic. Combat class spells such as Fire Arrow and Ice Sword are designed for use against a single target. Tactical class spells such as Firewall are designed to affect a much wider area. The final one is strategical class spells, which are ones powerful enough to have a global impact like tsunamis, earthquakes, and meteorites. This is different from the other categories because they take a whole group of mages compiling mana and reciting an incantation to pull off. For Dragonutes, Elves, Dark Elves, and Demon King, casting advanced spells is easy. It should be impossible for humans to do, but Light is somehow able to cast one without even seeing an incantation. It's completely unheard of, and Ma can't emphasize enough just how legendary that is. The leader doesn't understand too much about all the magic stuff, but what he can tell is that Light seems to be a good person. Besides that, he tells his sister that her magic is pretty good, too, because she was able to get a referral to the Magecraft Academy. The academy is in a place called Dush, which is a nation that was mutually created by all the races. The Magecraft Academy there is the most prestigious one in the world. So, Gold is sure that Maya will soon be impressing herself. Unfortunately, Elio explains that they lost their parents a while ago, so she never actually got to go to the academy. That is why they formed their party with their oldest friends to make enough money to get by. They have done well so far, so I's new goal is to make enough money adventuring to send Mia to the academy. Their friends also share this goal, and Mia couldn't be happier to have such good people around her. Their closeness reminds Light of his little sister, and Light assures them that they will achieve their goal. Elio wonders why Light is adventuring, but of course, he can't tell them the whole truth. Our heroes tell them that Light's parents lost their lives in a house fire, and it also left Light with horrible burns on his face. This is why he wears a mask at all times, and why he's on a journey to find a potion that can heal him. As for his warriors, they say that they're repaying a debt that they owe to Light's parents. That's a pretty tragic story, but one of the kids just wants to know if Gold and Nu are secretly dating. This is not the case, however, as Gold says that Nemu could never match his golden shine, and Nu declares that her heart belongs to Light. Elsewhere, Kaido finishes eliminating the giant trolls that he was searching for. Yannick compliments him on a job well done, but Kaido is furious. He explains that his grandest sword is a legendary weapon of prestige, not some butcher's knife for carving up low-level trash monsters. Kaido hates having to do this kind of grunt work, but Yannick reminds him that collecting these samples is vital for his research. Kaido wants to keep getting stronger, and Yannick's research is trying to find a way to surpass the growth limits imposed on each race. They have eliminated several monsters up to this point. But Yannick declares that the next step is to gather the primary material for his experiment, and that is humans. This part actually excites Kaido, and he declares that it's time for the hunt to begin. The next day, the guild receptionist is incredibly grateful because Light has brought the guild another big haul of gems. They are super valuable and everyone in the guild has been talking about Light's party. Nemo points out again that Light deserves to be SCX rank, but Light just ready to get paid. The receptionist wants to make sure that her most valuable adventurer is happy, so she offers to give them a meal while they wait. She even offers to make it a full course meal, but Lou is not interested. Afterwards, Light's warriors discuss how that receptionist has completely changed her attitude after realizing how valuable Light is. Nemo wants to teach everyone a lesson for doubting him. But Light reminds her that they're keeping the violence to a minimum, at least for now. As they walk, Light notices that everyone in town is talking about them, and they have even given his party the name Black Miley. Some guys want to ask Light some questions, but Nemo was very protective of him. The guys introduce themselves as Sullivan and Gilbert and they explain that they heard about the Mantis battle. They have also heard about them reaching floor 5 of the dungeon, but that part is unbelievable to Gilbert. He points out that they have been trying to get that far for years, so there's no way that this new Frank party could have gotten there so fast. Nemo takes offense to them doubting Light, but Sullivan explains that they and many other people are actually rooting for them. Light doesn't really understand why. So Sullivan points out that someone has to prove that humans can compete with the other races. Even better, they hope that the Black Miley can even surpass the other races to really humble them. After they leave though, Light overhears a group of other races talking about how humans say the dumbest things. They believe that humans will never be able to surpass them, and they are certain that the battle against the Mantis was all a lie. The part they believe the least is that a human was able to cast a tactical class spell with no incantation. Gold is disappointed to see just how little respect they get from the other races. So, he determines that they just have to show their power by getting results. Our heroes enter the dungeon again, and on their way back to the 5th floor, they'd run into the other group. Maya has a gift for Dark, and she explains that it's something her grandmother taught her to make before she passed away. Maya really wanted to do something special, so she reveals that it's an ointment for burns. It won't get rid of the scarring, but she hopes that it can at least help him with the pain a little. She fears that he might not want it, but he's actually just shocked by her kindness, and he accepts the gift. Elio reveals that she spent several days trying to think of the perfect gift, but this just embarrasses his little sister. Light has been thinking of something himself, and he just now decides that she deserves it. Light returns the favor, but Maya doesn't feel right, accepting something so nice. Light insists, however, as he explains that her gift to him really touched his heart. Everyone compliments his great taste, and Maya promises to cherish it for the rest of her life. That night, however, Nemo wonders if it was really okay for Light to give Mia that gift. It turns out that it was no ordinary gift because the bracelet Light gave her was actually a double super rare item. It's called the Wish Bracelet and Nemo doesn't think that something so valuable should have been given away in exchange for some homemade ointment. Light casually says that he thought it was a good deal and Gold agrees with him. That Wish Bracelet is an item that can make small miracles happen if one wishes strongly enough for it and it's pretty much priceless. Gold can tell that Light picked it out especially for Maya. So he tells Light that it was very considerate of him. Nemo's convinced, so Gold reminds her to be less materialistic. When they reach the 5th floor, Light is pleased to see that there's no one else here. Gold agrees that attention is the last thing they need right now, but Nemo points out that Gold is the one that loves attention. Light leaves them in charge of finding the Yetis they need to defeat, and he once again shows the infinite possibilities of his powers. He uses another card, and this one teleports him from the dungeon all the way back to his castle. His other warriors have been eagerly awaiting his return, so they all greet Master Light. Light explains Operation Adventure is going well and it has been a very nice change of pace. He's also in a great mood because he made some friends and they demonstrated that there's still some good in this world. As for Operation Revenge, the girls explained that they're very close to setting everything up and it will only require a little more time before everything is in place. Lu compliments Ellie for having everything under control and he determines that he probably didn't even need to come back. As for Mei, Lu instructs her to continue managing everything in the abyss. Ayuki will keep scouting the ancient forest, and Mizuna is eager to hear what his orders are for her. Light thinks about how she's a bad fit when it comes to carefully laid out plans, so he just tells her to keep everyone safe while he's away. He says that they can never know when a super powerful bad guy will show up, so Mizuna promises to not let anyone get hurt. Ellie can't believe that Mizuna is really okay with such a simple order, but Mizuna points out that she can't do her real job until Ellie finishes up her prep work. Ellie assures her that she will get it done soon because Light deserves the best, and Light is pleased to hear this. His next target is Sasha, and he can't wait to enjoy the look on her face when he comes for revenge. Light just knows that she will be miserable, and that day can come soon enough. Back in the dungeon, we see that Gilbert and Sullivan are on the 3rd floor. They discuss the Black Motley Party because that group is still a big mystery. According to rumors, the guy in the black mask was able to cast a tactical class spell with no incantation when he defeated the Mantis. Gilbert refuses to believe that and says that even if it is true, then the Masai Hasto will either be a legendary knight or some reincarnated hero from the past. Sullivan really hopes that this is the case because the humans need a champion that can topple the society that is run by human-hating discriminators. Sullivan goes to take a leak, but when he returns, he's horrified to see that his group was massacred. It was all Kaido's doing, and he explains how disgusted he is by these humans. Sullivan's horrified by the gruesome scene, but he reminds himself to keep his guard up because this guy's obviously dangerous. Something is off because Sullivan thinks about how they're in the wetlands right now. Water is everywhere, so his group should have noticed splashing sounds as the attacker approached. This obviously isn't what happened, however, because the bodies of his teammates don't show any signs of them putting up a fight. Sullivan thinks about how he's sure that this guy used some kind of spell, and wheezy that Kaido is furious as always. He points out that even the lowliest of worms would react to their friends being stomped on, and he wants to see a reaction out of Sullivan. Sullivan just continues to think, however, as head determines that even just one elf will be too much for him to handle. His only goal right now is to escape somehow so can report this to the Adventurers Guild. Kaido just keeps disrespecting Gilbert's body as he wants to antagonize Sullivan, but Sullivan just apologizes to his old friend. He uses a smokescreen to get away and he thinks about how most combat spells are completely worthless if the attacker can't see their opponent. Besides that, this entire floor is like Sullivan's backyard because he has been coming here for years. He wants to make sure that Keita gets punished for what he has done, but he's shocked when he gets attacked by something. He wonders if it was magic, but that should be impossible. It was impossible to see anything in the smoke and tells that he was hit by something physical. Just then he sees that Kettle is floating above it all and Sullivan can't believe that he will lose because of such a cheap trick. Yannick arrives to knock him out and he calls Sullivan a piece of trash for trying to run away. Yannick then expresses how disappointed he is because he told Kaido that he needed living humans for his experiment. Kaido eliminated them all except for one, but Kaido thinks that that should be enough. Unfortunately, it's not as Joe points out that successful experiments are only built from repeated failures. Kaido agrees to be more careful from now on, but declares if any trash human does anything to upset him, then he won't hold back. Yannick, on the other hand, believes that humans actually have value, but only as lab animals for his experiments. He declares that they will make humans understand the roles vermin like them play in the grand scheme of this world. A while later, heroes turn in more gems to the guild, and Nemo once again demands for her master, Dark, to be promoted. The receptionist panics as she points out that they just made an exception for him the other day when he was promoted straight to Dank from Frank. But Nemo doesn't think it's enough. The receptionist tries to explain that they use a system to make a decision like this, but Nemo declares that her master's almighty greatness cannot be measured by any system. She still thinks that he deserves the SCX rank, but Gold wishes that she would see how bad that makes Light sound. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done because not enough time has passed since Light registered. The receptionist, however, does say that things could be different if he achieved another big feat like defeating the Mantis. And this gives Light an idea. Light hears news about someone ending the lives of adventurers, and had determines that this could be the big feat that ranks him up even more. Light's warriors agree, but unfortunately, there's no information to go on because the suspect is still unidentified. Gold wonders why he doesn't just pull a card that can track on the suspect, but Lou reminds him that the cards he gets from the gacha are randomized. New suggests that they call him back up from the abyss, but Gold isn't sure how helpful that will be. Light points out that this adventurer killer has only been targeting humans, so they can't just let them down checked. Just then, Light senses something and a portal opens in the room. Light is then absolutely horrified as Mia's unconscious body falls out of the portal and he can tell just how badly she's injured. Mia is not able to respond to him when he calls out to her and the bracelet he gave her breaks off her wrist. When Mia wakes up, she's barely able to speak, but she has something urgent to warn Light about. Light heals her, but she loses consciousness again. So, Light apologizes as he must pry into her memories to find what's going on. Light uses a hypnosis card and sees a memory of Mia's group, learning about the adventurer killer. They were told that all the victims have been humans and the culprit is not a monster. The suspect is casting multiple spells with different attributes and no monster could do that. Maya was sure that their group wouldn't stand a chance against the suspect and they were also warned to leave. Elio decided that their party would leave, but they didn't have much time before nightfall. It soon became very dark and Elio instructed the others to keep pushing so they could get as far away as possible. Elio noticed how exhausted everyone was because they were walking all day and weren't even halfway to getting to safety. It was already dark and everyone was completely tired, but Elio knew that they couldn't risk camping for the night. Unfortunately, it wouldn't matter either way as they were approached by a mysterious trio. They posed themselves as concerned adventurers who warned the group that it was dangerous to be out at night. The youngsters remembered this trio from before and Myra was worried that they hadn't heard about the news. Elio told the strangers that someone has been taking the lives of adventurers and he told the trio that they should consider leaving the dungeon like they were. Kaido kept the act up by pretending to notice that the number of adventurers had suddenly dropped off and he thanked the young group for warning them. Gamera was glad to see that these line cutters weren't so bad after all. But that wasn't the end of the conversation. The trio dropped the act and Kaido determined that they should have put more effort into covering up their crimes. Kaido had no clue that news of their actions would spread so quickly and Yinak realized that the guild was more competent than he gave it credit for. The overly trusting Elio had no clue why they were talking this way. And Yannick said that this kind of stupidity was to be expected of humans. He couldn't believe that they had to spell the truth out for them. And Kaido said that humans are always dumb as dirt. Kaido then made the truth very clear. Ash declared that Io's group would be the last batch of bugs that he would squash for the day. Elio quickly realized that these guys are the suspects, so he didn't hesitate for even a second before telling Maya to run away. Deep down, Aya knew that they weren't going to survive, so he told Mia that the others would fight the suspects so they could buy her time to escape. Elio charged in knowing that he couldn't give the suspects time to act. But this infuriated Kaido. Heck knew that this group was outclassed and outgunned. So them thinking that they could buy time against him was insulting. He took his anger out on Elio and the others watched in terror as their leader was cut open. Maya cried out to her brother and the other two guys rushed in to avenge their best friend. Unfortunately, they only met the same fate and Maya couldn't believe what her eyes were seeing. It was a normal day just a few hours ago, but her entire world was now falling apart. Warren was the only one with enough life to speak, so he used his last moments to tell Amaya to get on her feet. Warren knew that she was frozen by the horrific sight of seeing all her friends get massacred, so he knew that he had to snap her out of it. Warren then used his last bit of life to loudly scream for her to run away. The light-hearted Gimra didn't even know that his old friend could even shout like that, and he showed that he too had some life left. Gimra stood by his comrade, and the two friends bravely charged at the attackers together. Maya called out to them knowing that they wouldn't stand a chance, but the boys were determined to protect her. Kaido only took this as an insult, however, and he hated that more than anything. Yannick knew just how angry Kaido gets after being insulted by humans, so he tried to tell Kaido to take it easy as his next attack was clearly going to be life-ending. Kaido was blinded by his rage, however, so he unleashed the gruesome attack and he ended their lives. Maya screamed as her body trembled from witnessing this, but Yannick was just disappointed. He reminded Kaido that he can't use humans for his experiment unless they are alive. But Kaido reminded him that he would end the lives of anyone that made things difficult for him. Kaido pointed out that he did leave one alive and Yannick was pleased because human mages are especially valuable to his research. The others would have been good for his research as well, however, so Kaido promised to be more careful moving forward. Kaido then showed an even more sinister side of himself as he told Mia what he had planned for her. He told her that she should be honored because he is a legendary hero. But Mia was horrified by this evil man. Suddenly, a voice called out Mia's name. It was Elio, and he used what life he had left to tell Mia to run away. Yannick was impressed to see him holding on to life so fiercely. So, he insists that Kaido keep him alive. He could tell that Io would be a prime specimen for his experiment. So, Kaido begrudgingly agreed. Elio's body was covered in blood and he knew that his life was pretty much already over. None of that mattered, however, as all he wanted was to make sure that Maya survived. He told her that she needed to get away no matter what, but he could tell that she was still frozen with terror. Elio managed to reach her by smiling, and he told his sister to run for it. The two began to cry as they knew that this could be the last time they ever saw each other, and Elio told his sister to run as fast as she could so she could live a long life. Maya finally gathered the courage to run away, but Yannick instructed Kaido to capture her. Elio did his best to stop him, but he was just swatted away. Yannick reminded Kaido that he needs the boy alive, but Kaido pointed out that humans are harder to capture than they are to eliminate. In this moment, Ellie remembered what Gold taught him. Had heard about how Gold said that battles are about creativity and skill. Kaido realized that if he used his head to make moves, then he might be able to throw his opponent off. Elio reminded himself about how Gold used a shield for offense and a sword for defense. The rage in Elio built inside himself as he repeated what Gold said over and over again. When his anger reached its peak, Io threw his sword at Kaido. Kaido, of course, dodged this, but this also distracted him from Elio's real intentions. Elio used his shield as a weapon, and he managed to land a powerful strike on Kaido. Kaido was at a complete loss for words, and Elio could only laugh at the situation. There was still no chance for him to survive, so he at least took pleasure in being able to trick Kaido. Elio called Kaido a loser as he told him to suck on his attack, and this made Kaido absolutely lose his mind. Kaido had never been angrier and he completely lost control. He called Elio a human piece of garbage and he used a special attack from his weapon to pierce Elio's body. Elio struggled to breathe as his body was impaled and Kaido declared that no one gets away with striking his face. Happened to make Elio suffer a pain worse than death, but Yak stopped him. He reminded Kaido that things could get really complicated if the people on the outside learned about what they were doing. So he told him to just go after the girl. Maya desperately ran to tell someone about what happened, but she was stopped by Kaido. He explained that Hetsan create multiple blades and control them at will because of his weapon. It's the Elven Kingdom's Phantasm class weapon, and it's a legendary sword known as Grandius. Maya could only watch while Kaido demonstrated his elite control of this weapon as he created several blades and used them as steps. Maya refused to give up, however, because she didn't want to waste the precious time that her brother and her friends bought for her. She instructed her magic power to aid her in the form of a blade, and she used several ice swords to attack Kaido. Kaido quickly destroyed them, but he was annoyed to see that it was only a distraction. Maya desperately wanted to find Dark as she knew that he would be able to help her, but Kaido caught up to her again. Kaido told her to give up and just listen to the orders of a legendary hero, but Maya refused. In her anger, she told Kaido that he was no legendary hero at all. She declared that heroes are kind and strong, and they are more like the hero known as Dark. Maya called Kaido a bully that only picks on the weak, and this really triggered something inside of him. Kaido was called a bully his entire life, and he was mocked for kissing up to his superiors. He was kicked out of the White Knights, and everyone said that he deserved it. Maya called him a spineless loser and the tormented Kaido lost control. He sent every blade in his command straight at Maya, but Maya knew that she had to survive no matter what. Everyone sacrificed their lives for her, so she had to tell Dark what happened at all costs. This triggered the wish bracelet and she was teleported straight to Light. Light's warriors can tell that something's terribly wrong as Light hasn't said a single word. Consumed by anger, Lu can only grip the bracelet. Andy tells the others that it's time to go. Back in the dungeon, Enoch doesn't want to waste such a good specimen, so he heals Io. When Kaido returns, Enoch fears that he ended the girl's life because he didn't bring her back, but Kaido just ignores him. Kaido thought that Maya might have run back to save her brother, and Yannick realizes that Kaido lost track of her. Yannick can't believe that a former member of the White Knights was bested by a child. So Kaido explains that she just vanished into thin air. He assumes that she used some kind of teleportation item, but Yannick points out that a human would never have something so valuable. The bottom line is that she got away, and Yannick points out how that means they're in deep trouble. If she reaches a guild and spills their secret, then word will definitely spread to the Elven Kingdom. Soon enough, the elves will figure out where the stolen Grandis has gone, and the White Knights will come for them. Rumors say that the captain of the White Knights is beyond level 3000 and all those in his command are in the 2000s. They are terrifying with that alone, but each of them also has weapons on par with Grandius. Kaido can't believe that this is happening to him, but Yannick tries to calm him down. As long as he completes his research, then Kaido will be able to surpass his level limit and all their problems will be solved. Kaido's relieved and Yannick declares that they just need to find a place for him to continue his research. Unfortunately for them, Light arrives to tell them that they won't be going anywhere. Kaido is shocked because no one can sneak upon a level 1500 like him, so he can only wonder how Light appeared without giving himself away. Light's tone becomes somber for a moment as he puts Warren and Gimrod to rest. Nemo explains that Elio still has some signs of life left and his wounds have been patched up. Yannick is completely stunned because he only took his eyes off Elio for a second, but this group was somehow able to take him. Light heals Elio and he can only wonder why someone would do such evil things. He can't understand why these kids had to suffer such injustice because all they ever did was stand firm in a world filled with awful discrimination. They were kind to everyone and simply did their best to make an honest living while supporting Mia's dreams for the future. Light says that they didn't deserve such a horrific fate. But he knows that it's too late to change anything now. Under different circumstances, Light is sure that they could have all grown up to become great friends. But that world was torn apart. Light struggles to contain his anger and he vows to make the criminals pay for what they did. Yannick tries to lie his way out of this as he points out that Hugh was the one that healed the boy. Light doesn't entertain their lies, however, as he explains that Maya told him everything. He knows that these guys don't want to get found out, so he tells them to be relieved because he hasn't told the guild a single thing. Kaido laughs like an absolute maniac because he can't believe how lucky he just got. They were so close to having their secret found out, but now all he has to do is eliminate this group in front of him along with the girl to get away scot-free. Kaido's confidence goes through the roof as he points out that everything always goes his way. This is true in his mind because he's a legendary hero and this just confirms that he's blessed by the gods. Light can only laugh at this guy calling himself a hero and he reveals the real reason that they didn't tell the guild. Light plans on ending their lives in the most vicious way possible and he just didn't want anyone to know how he did it. He vows to make them suffer the way Maya and the others did and he promises that they will beg for the sweet relief of death. Light then swears upon his name that when all is said and done, he will tear the life from them with his own hands. Light tells his warriors to stay out of this fight, and they do just as their master says. Light has a cold look on his face, but this upsets Kaido. He refuses to be sneered at by a lowly human, and he promises that he will cut Light into tiny pieces like he has done to every human that dared to fight him before. He rushes in to attack Light, but Light easily stops him with his staff. Yayan can't believe that Kaido Sadak was forwarded so easily, and Light wonders if that's really all Kaido has. Kaido can't believe that Light is still looking at him with those eyes, so he unleashes a barrage of attacks. He curses humans over and over again as he attacks, but Yannick can understand what's happening. He says that it's ridiculous because no human in this world can stand against the legendary Grandius. Light just keeps disproving him, however, as he easily blocks all of Kaido's attacks. Gold calls Kaido a mad dog, and the warriors are disappointed because Kaido can't do anything but swing his sword in rage. Light is just as disappointed as he calls Kaido pathetic, and he crushes Kaido's insides with his first counterattack. Kaido can barely breathe after just one strike, and Light wishes that he would try to fight better. He tells Kaido that he will have to at least try harder or else he might end Kaido's life by accident. Kaido refuses to let a human talk down to him, so he uses his sword's special ability. He calls forth an incredible number of blades, and he tells Light to tremble and weep before his power. Kaido then instructs Light to bear witness, for this is the power of the legendary Grandius. Kaido begins to rain these blades down upon Light, and Light is actually surprised by how useful this attack is. Light sets fire to the forest to give himself some cover, and head dodges all the attacks. Nemo explains that every single one of Kaido's blades are enchanted with magic and they even have different attributes. It's actually very impressive, but the warriors are sure that it won't be a problem for Light. Light continues to dodge the endless flurry of blades and he admits that the attack does have some power. Unfortunately for Kaido, Light declares that it won't be nearly enough. Kaido tries to attack him directly, but Light proves to be impossible to land a strike on. Of course, this makes Yak lose his mind even more because Kaido summoned a sword to sneak behind Light, but Light still somehow blocked it. There has never been a human in all of history this strong. So, Yak can't accept what he's watching. This shouldn't be possible, and he can't understand how a human can go toe-to-toe with an elf wielding a Phantasma-class weapon. Kaido is sure that Light must be cheating somehow, and he accuses him of dressing like a mage while really being a warrior. He hates that Light thinks Hatsun trick people by dressing this way and it just makes him hate humans even more. Light explains that it's not a trick because he really is a mage, but Kaido doesn't believe him. No mage could possibly ever fight on equal level with him, but this statement just makes Gold pity him. Light is one of a kind, so it's understandable why Kaido would be so confused. Light releases the ice sword attack, and Kaido can't believe that he was able to summon so many ice blades without an incantation. Kaido makes one last desperate attempt to strike Light, but it's no use as Light fends off his blades with blades of his own. Yannick's mouth nearly drops to the floor as Light completely counters Kaido's attack. This entire scene is unreal as Yannick points out that Light is using Ice Sword to pick off the Clonesoft Grandius one by one. That requires magic power far beyond an elven mage and it shouldn't be possible for a human. Kaido lets out a smile when he tricks Light into blocking an attack, but Light is no fool. He stops Kaido's sneak attack as well, and Inak really begins to lose hope. Not a single attack is reaching Light, and Light is even able to summon enough ice blades to use them as a barrier. Light wonders if Kaido is done throwing a tantrum, but Kaido still can't comprehend what's happening. He assumes that this is Tobe some kind of joke because a legendary hero like himself could never be bested by a human brat. Kaido then shocks everyone when he declares that a Maestro was given the grandiose sword from the heavens above and it should be unbeatable. Light is stunned when he hears the word Maestro and he demands to know why Kaido knows that word. Kaido is happy to oblige and he laughs because the answer to that question should be obvious. He declares that he knows about Maestros because he was born with the blood of a Maestro inside of him. This is why he's called a Sumro. And Light is stunned because he has never heard the term before. Thanks for watching my recap.